For the past 12 years that I've been riding fixed gear, about 10 of those years, an entire decade, has been with cages and straps, and I had a little foray in the middle into clipless pedals and decided not to do that again. But here I am, after over 10 years, where I'm finally trying out foot straps on my bike, and I have to say that I've finally been converted to them versus toe clips / cages and straps. But something I want to convert you to is this message from our sponsor, Wabi Cycles. Wabi's bikes flat out are just the most fun bikes that I've ever had the pleasure of throwing a leg over, and this right here is my dream bike. Limited edition Ube Purple Wabi Special with chrome lugs. Oh, and it rides even more nicely than it looks. Be sure to stick around to the end of the video and check out Wabi Cycles linked in the description to find out what makes them so special. I rode cages and straps for most of my fixed gear riding life because it's what I learned how to ride fixed gear on. It's what I got comfortable with. And they still balance a lot of the characteristics, what I'm looking for out of pedals, in that they're really easy to get in and out of. They allow me to wear whatever shoes that I want, and they look pretty sick while being pretty comfortable and pretty secure. My main problem with toe clips and straps is that they scuff up shoes pretty badly. I've tried a lot of different types of cages. These are my Red Wing Iron Rangers. And yeah, it's like maybe it's silly to ride in them, but it's like they're my shoes and I really like them and I'm gonna ride in them. So they got scuffed up pretty bad over the years just from going in and out of cages. And I even got some new boots. I've ridden in cages in these boots once. And just this once, they have a little scuff mark here where you can see the leather is lighter. And because these boots cost 500 bucks and I really like them and want to keep them looking as nice as possible for as long as possible, I decided to go and try out some hold-fast straps for myself because they've been around for a long time. A lot of people ride them, a lot of people like them. I've just never seen what's up with them for myself. Holdfast sent me a couple of straps to review at no cost to me. I went with the floral one just because they're sick. Like, to me, this is the perfect balance of like, yeah, my bike, I like my bike to look nice and to have some style. And I take biking seriously, but not too seriously. And they have a whole bunch of fun prints. The holdfast straps are also handmade in the USA, and they only cost like 60 bucks, so that's like really good for how comfortable they are. And my platform pedal of choice, so you can't use regular track pedals on them because you need to slot the straps through the pedal. So I went with the Velo Orange Sabot pedals, Sabot, I don't know how to, Velo Orange? It's Velo Orange Sabot pedals. These are super silky smooth, unlike the plastic BMX pedals that a lot of people ride with these kinds of foot straps. They're super classy, aluminum with these steel pins that give a lot of grip. I am really digging this setup. The first thing I noticed when I was trying out foot straps is that I feel super connected to my pedals and super connected to the drivetrain. It's a level of connectedness and directness that comes close to clipless, except I can still wear shoes that I can walk in. And it feels like the strap is holding fast to my foot and like it is absolutely never going to slide out, which is something that I have had happen on my GR10s and Toshi double straps with CKC plastic cages. It's just that, like, especially with like BMX style pedals, they have the studs that bite into the bottom of your shoe. So I find that I actually have to like lift my foot up a bit and then pull out, and that my foot doesn't just slide out if I'm pedaling really fast. And it's a lot more confidence inspiring, I found, than the regular cages and straps that I've been using for most of my fixed gear riding career. I also find these straps a lot more comfortable. If you just look at the area difference that it covers on the top of your foot, like this has much more fabric and much more material, much more evenly distributes the weight and the force across the top of your foot versus even the nicest double straps that money can buy. Like, you got these two weenie straps that are kind of digging into the top of your foot, as well as the cage that digs into the top of your foot on this section. I put so much effort and tried so many different setups with cages. They just always scuff up shoes. It's impossible for these not to scuff up shoes. But with foot straps, there's no cage over your toe cap. Like, there's nothing to scuff. I've ridden my black leather Danner boots in these straps a bunch of times. No scuffs whatsoever. Another way for that foot straps beat cages, you get less toe overlap because there isn't a cage that's protruding out from your pedal and over the top of your shoe. Foot straps are also significantly more affordable when compared to cages and straps. Like, the strap itself is like 55 bucks. Yeah, that's kind of expensive, but you can get just BMX style platform pedals for like 15 bucks. It's like 70 bucks for the pedal setup. But even if you're trying to save some money and go for like a middle of the road cage and strap setup, this is a more high-end one, $130 for the cage setup versus $70 for the entire foot strap setup. One isn't better than the other. It really comes down to personal preference, but the biggest drawback I've noticed about foot straps versus cages and straps is that cages and straps are just a lot easier to get into. A lot of them have a tab where you could easily flick your foot into. Like, I could do this all day. It's so easy to get in and out of them. And compare that to the foot strap, I've even gotten a lot better at it. It's just, sometimes it flops over like this. Your foot doesn't get completely in. Like, it takes just the right amount of technique and finesse and speed to get your foot into it. Especially on my left foot, I've had this problem. It might be because, like, this one is a little floppier. I might have to adjust the setup. But usually, even when I'm riding, I have to, like, do this, reach down and pull on the strap, which isn't super safe. A lot of it comes down to the setup of your strap, because you want it to be tight enough that it doesn't flop over, but you also want it to be loose enough that the hole is big enough to fit over your shoe. And that could pose a problem, especially like when I'm riding with my boots. I have to keep the strap pretty loose and they just become really floppy. And regardless of what I do, how much technique I have, maybe I could get better at this in the future, but I have to reach down and pull the strap over my foot at a specific point in the crank rotation. And it does feel a little bit unsafe. I'm also wondering, as I ride these straps more, if they will stretch or get floppier over time and then be even harder to get into. So I'm not really sure on the lifespan of these. Whereas these, I've been riding these for like 4 years now, and they still hold their shape. They still feel very confident to pull up on. And like, this is something that I know I can rely on if I'm willing to tolerate scuffed shoes. Also, if you're somebody that likes to descend brakeless and you like to take your feet off the pedals and coast on a fixed gear, because the foot straps are harder to get back into, especially if your cranks are rotating super fast, I would definitely recommend that you stick with straps and cages versus foot straps. I had to install the straps based on these confusing IKEA style instructions, and it took me about an hour to figure it out. Like, not exaggerating, I might be kind of dumb. But even if they could just do something like put arrows on their diagrams for what is looping into where, it would be much better. Like, learning how to do this and how to loop the strap through and adjust it, it was legitimately like learning how to tie my shoes again for the first time. But when you compare that to cages and straps, these are super easy to install and adjust. You loop the strap through, you loop it through the cage, you loop it through the buckle, you tighten it down to your preferred shoe size. That's it. The foot strap design has grown on me. It's a bit more casual, a bit more laid back, a bit more like street style, but this is just like so classy because this is what people rode before clipless was a thing. It really comes down to, do you want your bike to look classy or do you want yourself to look classier because you could wear nicer shoes when you're riding your bike? I'm still going to keep my Toshi double strap MKS setup. The foot straps aren't strictly better than these. They just excel in other areas. The whole point of Fixie is having that direct feeling to your rear wheel and to the drivetrain, and the foot straps just do a better job of that, in my opinion. Speaking of doing a better job, this video is sponsored by Wabi Cycles. My Wabi Special is the most fun bike that I've ever ridden. The way Wabi's bikes are designed is very holistic. They look at every single thing to make sure that it gives you the best ride quality for your money as possible. Wabi's fixed gear and single speed bikes are constructed with a mostly road-like geometry that's slightly more aggressive for the preferences of us fixed gear riders, because most of us that are buying fixed gear bikes are riding them on the street anyway. And they help to bring the ride quality to life with very lively, supple Reynolds 725 or Columbus Spirit tubing. The way that these tube sets flex, they plane really nicely where it feels like the bike is giving in, it's pliable, but still springing back and giving you a responsive ride quality. Because it is steel, it's durable, it can take a beating, it can be locked up, it can be crashed. I have crashed these multiple times before, and they're totally fine. It's the most fun, most reliable daily bike that I've ever ridden. If you're interested in getting one for yourself, be sure to check out Wabi Cycles, linked in the description. And Fixie famous shoutouts to David K, Salvador Lombroso, Julian Corona, Brandon Black, Brent David, Mario Perez, Ted Onchi, and Brakeless for helping to make these fixed gear videos possible through their support on Patreon. And remember that life is short, but don't make it shorter. So be sure to ride your bike every day to be reasonably dangerous.